Well, it's really good to see you, Kate. And
Long time.
it's a long time, but the thing is that that was at the start of the first lockdown, and you'd had this little bit of a minor ailment, and you were working through that. And I think we sort of discussed that at the time. How did it all go for you?
I'm not quite sure what you're meaning. Elements?
Well, you're not allowed to say these words like COVID-19,
Oh,
CV.
yeah. No, I was super sick when I got back home, but I'm fine. I had COVID several times after that too, and no, it's not affecting me much.
And did it actually affect you in the? I mean, how did it affect you at all?
Well, for me, it has been more like an incredibly bad headache.
Yeah.
That was the worst issue. And
Now,
of course, when I was over in the States and had to do my lectures and thing over there, and feeling like my head is going to explode, it's not a good combination. But the show must go on.
so in some respects, it was like an ordinary flu.
No, normal flu is pleasant beside that one. Uh,
Well, I'm wearing my Norwegian sweater, and you're wearing yours.
yeah, here there are all stars, and
Yeah, and I have to say that it's quite cold here, but we did not talk about the weather. The thing is, since then, what has been the experience for you since then? Since we're on that sort of subject at the moment, how did it work out for your family and friends, and to be vaccinated, not be vaccinated, that kind of thing?
Well, I guess there has been the same problematic thing all over the world, that you have the people that are against the vaccine, and you have those that are believing in the vaccine. So you have both areas. And if you say that you do want to have the vaccine, or the opposite, you will always have a lot of people that will jump all over you. So if someone is asking me if I'm vaxxed or not, I'm saying that, you know what, that's a private matter.
Right answer. So, what's happened to you in terms of your art? You managed to get all your art together. Explain to people that you have this wonderful talent for being an artist.
Well, that comes and goes when I have the time for it. I have this big place in my basement and also a gallery, so I have a good place to do all kind of creative stuff. Some people are asking me what kind of style I have, and I said it's difficult to explain, because I can be inspired at one type of style, and I can make one picture with that style, and then before I'm done with the evening, I have perhaps 5 to 10 different pictures on the table, and they're all some started with one inspiration, and then you have keeping the inspiration, but you're putting some new elements into it or changing them. So the new inspiration comes while you're working, so that before you know it, you have 10 pictures lying on the table for drying.
Now, you
the
mentioned
next day.
inspiration. What is the inspiration? What is that thing that makes you want to paint? And why do you want to paint sometimes, not others?
Well, it can be just that you are seeing someone else is making something beautiful colors, beautiful combinations, things you have not been thinking about before, and then you think, okay, I would like to try that too.
Now, I notice a lot of art has got very bright colors now. Is that because of the inks and new, really bright, vibrant colors, or is it because of a new perception of color and vibration and higher perceptions?
Well, now I can't say anything, because I don't know about how the style are in the UK and other countries, but here in Norway, for a long time, there was very fashion to have white or beige walls and gray furniture. So it's become quite, gray. And actually, they're actually done study of this thing, and people actually have become depressed because of all the gray and dull colors. So I think that people need colors. So I guess that's also why a lot of artists actually making big pictures with lots of colors. No, I'm not sure what you're meaning now, but there's no restrictions what kind of color we can have. But it was a typical fashion for a while, that you should not have any colors. That was very plain colors on the indoors, on your sofa or the walls or thing like that. Of course, you could get stuff with bright colors, but you have to look quite good if you were going to get one.
We don't have to mention any trade names. But I mean, IKEA seemed to have that. It sort of had it seemed to have a clean look on things. But you get tired of it after a while.
Yeah. No, I just bought myself a new sofa, and that's a bright color thing, and dark green on the walls, so my sofa is still more like popping out.
So, without actually seeing your art, could you speak about some of the art, and maybe we could put that on afterwards, the actual painting or something afterwards? Could you describe what that? I mean, the reason for this is some of the witnesses that we introduced, that we interviewed quite some time ago, expressed themselves in art, and there were amazing landscapes, there were amazing sort of just colors and different kinds of energies. And I was wondering if your experience with the ETs or whatever you want to call them inspired that.
Well, I can't say that I'm using myself that much in my art, not yet, because I'm still at the stage that I would like to try out techniques in all kind of directions.
Such as, I mean, could you give us some examples? Obviously, you can't show it now, but could you give us some examples of that, and maybe what's behind that?
It can be, let's say that you are taking a canvas and you are taking some acrylic colors. Doesn't matter what kind of colors. And you just put them on a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you splash a lot of water on them. So they are getting quite wet and they are moving together as colors. And then you are just letting it dry till the next day. And that can look like a beautiful sunset just because of the little things that you were doing. And then, of course, then you are putting on a new layer with new details and more details on top of that again. So most of the time you can have an idea in your head what kind of picture you will make. But normally it will never turn out in the way you were thinking about it. So that for me, I think that's the best part actually, because you're starting with something and you're ending up with something completely else.
And does this take you in different directions in mood or inspiration yourself?
Well, I guess that, you become in a quite good mood, and especially when you're feeling the inspiration, because when the inspiration really hits you, it's like a big machine that is spinning around and it won't stop with the first. So again, you are done with that picture and that one has to dry. And of course, that was quite a quick job to do it. So, okay, what's next? You're still very full of inspiration. You have started. Of course, you just have to jump into a new canvas. And a new canvas, because normally you're making a picture on several stages.
I mean, are you asked by people to paint something which they would like to see, or do you take commissions like that, or what? I have customers that they want me to make something in that type of pictures that I made, and sometimes also with the colors that fits into their home. And that spices life up.
Yeah, it does. Because when you're seeing their home, that can give you inspiration too. So you also know what kind of shapes and things that they are looking for. So.
And would you go to their homes or where they plan to have them and see if something's going to fit or not fit, or you just leave that for them to do that themselves?
No, they're taking a picture and sending it to me. From the environment where they want the picture to hang. So,
a long time ago, you had an experience.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to continue to talk about? Have there been new experiences, new changes, anything new that's been going on?
Well, I guess I will be talking a little bit more about this as long as the people and the conferences want that kind of lecture. But for myself, I'm moving on to another topics.
And that would be? What do you want to say? What do you want to do? What is it you have? Aha. Well, explain it all.
This is a very, very difficult topic to explain. so many people asking me, especially on radio, to let me explain this and that, and for example, for 5 minutes. I said, you know what, I can't, because the thing that I'm explaining is a part of a bigger picture. So for example, when it comes to this book here, you have to start with the beginning of the book and then continue through the whole thing to understand what I'm actually talking about, because there are so many.
Well, we have a really,
topics.
really good bookshop here in Devizes, and they can get stuff. So how would they get that book? Is that available for sale or what?
Not yet. And so far it will be only on my homepage.
But you have a bound book there. Tell me all about it. It looks fantastic.
This one is not a real book. This is a cover that I'm using for the commercial when I'm making my commercial for the book. But this is not a real book itself.
Well, what are all those things inside?
Well, that's another book.
Tell us all about it then. This is inspiring.
Yeah, no, the book is called The Creation, Where Physics and Consciousness Meet. And of course, as also Tesla said, that when real scientists is starting to look at the quantum physics world, sometimes that's the problem too, because I have to explain this kind of topics on not my own language. So sometimes I'm missing the words to explain this properly.
Well, don't worry about it. You speak great English and you're coming over really, really well.
This is an area that is more difficult when it comes to language. Now, if you take science and still I'm looking for that word. It disappeared.
Well,
if you're a medium, seeing dead people and all this kind of things. If you're putting that kind of area together with the science area, then the science area could take a long leap forward to understand much more what's going on.
This is very interesting. I'd like to explore this. How are you able to move forward with this? Where are you coming from on this?
Well, I don't have any science background at all. But I had a lot of it's actually all back in '95, where I had my first vision that really changed my life big time, because I was not interested in physics or quantum physics or cosmology, anything like that at all before this happened. And but after that, if you want, I can tell you what happened.
Yes, I would like that very much. Yes, definitely.
No, I was standing in the basement in my mother's house, and I was working on a wedding dress, not my own, but it was a person that has ordered from me. So I had a deadline, and trust me, my head was just full up with this wedding dress and all the things that needed to be done. And when I'm standing there working, then suddenly I'm hearing these numbers that suddenly pops up in my head, and I was thinking, okay, what's this? And then it repeated itself several times. And then suddenly, instead of seeing the things I was working with, I'm seeing this like a string with pearls. And then another string with pearls shows up. And then it looks like a DNA, but without the bindings. And then and this one kept on growing and growing and growing till it was 12 strings. And then it was like someone was taking my consciousness, just dragged it from the back of my head and just swoop out. And I was not on the outside of myself or outside the house or outside our own little universe. I was hanging outside of everything. I was meaning outside the total everything.
This is really interesting.
So I was getting the expression what I was looking at, and I was feeling so humble and so blessed, and just wow. And then in the next second, it was like I was dragged in again, and I was going into one of these spheres, because the thing I was looking at, it looked like a huge donut, but with strings of pearls that was really twisted together in a special way. And you had this beautiful light that was coming out from this thing. And then my consciousness was dragged back into one of those spheres. And when I was going into it, it's not an electron no, atom and electrons, but it looks the same. But I'm using the words atoms and electrons because then you will know visually what I'm talking about. So I was getting the attention to one of the electrons that was flying around, and this one.
Now, when you're talking about electrons, you're talking about the classic, like, little spheres rotating around a bigger sphere,
yeah,
as opposed to these complex electron microscope things that people have seen.
Yeah, no, it's not an atom and electron, but it looks the same. So I was following this so-called electron flying around, and this one getting a critical point in mass, so it exploded. So that was actually our little Big Bang. So after that, I was following the entire process from that was happening from back in then until everything starting to be created, and what was happening all the way. And then I was, after a little while, then I was actually seeing our own solar system that become familiar. And then I was diving back, and then suddenly, boom, I was back in the basement. I was standing there in the basement with my wedding dress, and I was just, wow. It was just, oh, it can't be explained, that feeling. It was just overwhelming. So after that, everything I have got afterwards is always matching into the picture I get at first. For me, I can never sit. I have a lot of people say that, oh, you are sitting there and you are trying to twist and turn your brain to figure out how things works, but I don't. If I try to do that, even if I write it down and put it someplace, I will never remember what it was. But the things that comes down as a download, it's like a part of you, so you will always remember it. So it's a huge difference. So it's like most people have probably heard that story about those scientists that they're all blind, and one of them was holding the trunk of the elephant, and the other one was holding the tail, and the third one was holding the foot, and everyone was explaining that, oh, this is how it works, but they had no idea that it wasn't actually an elephant. The thing is that a lot of times, if you want to understand how things work together, you need to actually see the big engine first, and then you're getting explained all the parts and the details afterwards.
So this was an experience which you did. There wasn't anybody pulling. It was you who were doing this. This was you. This was all your ability to see the wider perspective.
Yeah, something happened. So I actually took my consciousness and just dragged it out there.
This is very interesting because I've been talking to 2 or 3 other people, and they are talking about the same sort of thing. As your energy and spirituality, or whatever you want to call those things, increases, you're able to go everywhere in the universe.
Yeah. So that's also one of the things I'm explaining in this book. How our consciousness, how our soul, how it works together with matter and so on. The thing is that everything you're seeing around you, we are thinking that, oh, this is the physical material world. But if you're looking deeply enough into it, it's not physical at all. It's just different frequencies that makes different, that the table looks like a table and it feels hard like a table. It's just because that they have a different frequency than my hand has.
Now, a lot of people use this term frequency, and it's just frequencies, but that doesn't really get into your mind what you're trying to explain. Can you go into that a bit better?
I don't think I have the English language to try to do that.
Well,
that's the thing with my book, is because that I'm putting all of these kind of things in the right order, and I also have pictures. I had to make a lot of pictures, so the picture will tell more than the words can say. There's an expression that a picture tells 1,000 words.
Yes. But this is so important. But I mean, I'm hearing this, even if I go back to some other people I interviewed, they talk about frequencies, and it's all about frequencies, and it's all about energies. But what within your pictures, if you have some, could you explain? Because I'm trying to find words to explain this.
I think that perhaps I should use another analogy. If you compare this hand with um, it's not a hurricane, a tornado. Most people, they will see the tornado when it's coming, but if you took away all the dust, all the crap that are inside that tornado, so it would be just plain air, you will not see it. So that force that is spinning there, that force is spinning around in you too, but they are in every cell. And every cell in your body, let's say, because you have different cells in your body, you have heart cells, you have bone cells, and all of them, even inside your body, they are having different frequencies. They are spinning in different speed. Because of the different speed, they will be, some of your bones will be hard, your skin will be softer. So it's a really, really big topic.
That's a very, very good description, because a friend of mine had a little poem about every little cell in my body and so forth, and they're all working together. I mean, they used to call certain aircraft just a series of rivets flying in formation, but we're a collection of unique little tiny things we call cells, and we are the collective. We're the swarm.
Yeah. No, you have. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, because I have to make the Norwegian to English here. But I think that there are 50 billion cells in your body. Each one of them are actually a little identity by itself. It has their own antennas to look around in their environment to see what's going on. That will be your bloodstream and what's going on through your bloodstream. And of course, that's your brain that is putting out the chemistry that goes through the blood and so on. So each cell will think that, is this a hostile environment? Is this a good environment? So, yeah, I lost it.
You're doing really well. You're doing really, really well on this. This is great.
So yeah, you are actually a walking, talking community on 50 billion cells. And what's going up in here and your heart area, coherence between your heart and your brain, that's actually the ones that are deciding the environment for all the cells that are in your body.
So it's science. Science has found that there are cells in your stomach and your heart which behave like the brain cells. So there is this communication.
Yeah, there are. They have found cells in the heart. I think there was a big number, 40,000 cells or anything like that. I don't remember exactly. That as they are brain-like cells in the heart. And the heart is actually responding and reacting faster than your brain is doing.
Which is why when you have a heart transplant, you start having memories of the previous person. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are bringing memories. You can actually, if you're having a blood transfusion from another person, you can actually experience that you are having memories and habits from the other person. I experienced that myself. That is quite weird.
And how was that for you? Did you need a blood transfusion or something?
Well, I was going through a big surgery several years ago, and everything that the surgery was supposed to be quite quick, but everything that could go wrong went wrong. So I had to get a lot of blood transfusion on the table. They also almost wake me up on the table in the mid of the surgery. So it was I had an allergic reaction to the anesthetic, and there was all kinds of things going wrong. But I was getting this blood transfusion, and after I got home, the thing is that I'm a carpenter. I like to build things and make a lot of stuff. But when it comes to the kitchen, I can cook, but I find it quite boring. So it's normally, I like to make the food from the bottom so I can eat healthy and all of this, but still I think it's boring. But after I got back from hospital, I was starting to find my kitchen very boring. So I was putting in there a lot of new spices and all kind of things and starting to make dishes I have never ever in my life done before. And there was more like a kind of a high chef type of food with shrimps and all kind of things that you're putting together. And my mother, she was just, no, I'm not going to eat that. You can eat that by yourself. It looks too different, so she wouldn't dare to eat it. I did eat it, and it was quite spicy, and I don't like spicy food.
Does your body like spicy food? Does it react to it? Because sometimes you can eat things that you like, but the body says, "Oh, I don't want that."
Yeah.
Without going into too much detail here.
No, I normally I don't like spicy food. I like to taste the food, not like that it's just burning in my mouth. So, but now I was suddenly eating spicy food. So it was like my whole eating thing changed. But after 3 weeks or so, I started to go slowly back to normal again.
That's because your body is replacing that blood and you're manufacturing your own blood. So literally that would just fade away.
Yeah. So it was quite weird. So, well, I've been trying to be a chef for a little while. And it disappeared. It has never come back.
So how did that experience relate to your ET type of experience? Do you think there was some connection there with why things went wrong in the surgery?
No, they had nothing to do with the surgery.
They weren't sort of saying, no, we don't agree with this. This isn't going to happen, or the so-called ETs or whatever.
No.
I mean, for those who haven't seen part one or having seen your actual other presentations elsewhere, could you just give a little bit of a summary as to what that was, your experience?
Well, for those who don't know me, I had my first close encounters with other ET already when I was 3 years old. And this one was, I can give you the short story. This was very close at Christmas time. And my mother, she has put me to bed for the night. I wasn't tired. So I remember I was standing in the crib and I was watching out the big windows. And we are living on the second floor. So there was no cars or anything like that I could see in front of the windows. And then suddenly the wall on the left side became blurry. And out from that blurriness, there was this gray creature that was coming. It was like it was gliding over the floor, and then he was standing in front of my crib. And of course, since I was 3 years old and did not know what this was, I started to blah, 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 and trying to connect with this creature. He did not say anything, just looked at me. And then I understood that we communicated with our heads instead. So he was there. He was giving me the feeling that he was there to see if I was okay. So and then after a little while, then he just glided the same way out through the wall. And in the next second, I saw him and one more inside a craft hanging in front of the window. And then they just took off. And of course, in my little head, I was thinking, oh, yay, Santa Claus was here. So, but the thing is that just a week later, there was Christmas. And my mother, she brought me into the living room. And I was going to meet Santa Claus. And this guy here, that he did not look like my Santa Claus. He had this red suit, false beard, and a plastic face. And I was terrified. And I was screaming and I was angry. That was not my Santa. So
what did everybody else say to that?
Well, my father, he did not say much. My mother, she did not say much either, but she knew what I actually had, what I was seeing in my bedroom. Because my mother has seen them and my grandfather has seen them, aunts has seen them. So it runs with the family, but it doesn't run with my father's family. So she did not say anything before several years later.
That's interesting because when I was in soon, a friend of mine's car was being fixed and we were talking to this other guy, and he found that if he gets secondhand furniture, and you can get other expressions from that, but he was also aware in his family about other beings. I mean, would you be able to label those, call them a particular type or whatever?
No, the one that was coming to my bedroom was one of the small grays.
And
A local,
any other details, colors?
they were gray.
I mean, there's blue
Small.
grays and there's green grays and white grays. And
I've never been thinking much about if there was different. It was just different shades, kind of gray and big head and big black eyes. Typical normal one. Over the years, I have heard a lot of people saying that, oh, they are robots and things like that. Trust me, this was not any kind of robots.
I mean, let's stick to your experience and your perception, because this is amazing that's multi-generational.
So, and of course, I had one when I was 10 years old. I was climbing up at the roof at night. I was an outsider most of my life, still am. So I was sitting there on the roof at night, and I was wanting someone out there to please come down and pick me up and take me home. I don't belong here. And one evening I was seeing this big bright light, and that's all I remember. And then I wake up in my bed next morning. Well, someone will probably say that, oh, you have been walking down from the roof yourself. Well, if you are balancing outside on the roof, I don't think it's smart to fall asleep up there and then do a sleepwalking.
I think that's probably, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
But I lost my sense of smell when I was 10 years old. But I got it back when I had my last close encounters. Then I was around 30 years old. I was going to a Ghoul Mountain, staying up there in a cabin for 2 months, working on my book. So yeah, my book, the first one, have taken lots and lots of years. 2 months became 1 week. I was waking up one morning and I was feeling sore in my nose. I was going over to the mirror, and I saw this. The first thing I noticed was that this was not a pillow mark. You can see a big difference from a pillow mark to, let's say, something like a fork with sharp metal edges kind of grip that I had on my face, on my eyelids here. So that was it. And I had this gray greenish liquid that was dried from my eyes and from my nose. And I was thinking, what is this? Ugh. I had no idea. But the thing is that all those kind of things have to step into the background, because you're living alone in a cabin. You have to do the firing, you have to make some food, and you have to make all the kind of things work in that house, because nothing is happening by itself. So I went back to the normal day, but when the evening came, I was becoming like a stressed animal in a cage, because it was like every fiber in my body knew that something had happened, but I did not remember what. So I was finally getting in contact with those people that owned the cabin. So they came the day after to pick me up and bring me back down to the society. And when I got back there, I could really feel the changes, because what are normally the first thing you do if you haven't been with so much power? That is the first thing you will do, you will charge your mobile phone. And most people, when they are putting their charger into the wall or the socket, they will not hear anything. When I was putting it into the socket, it was like a screaming microphone. Everyone knows how terrible that sounds. So I could really hear all the kind of things I did not want to hear. So if there was a light bulb, you hear the zzz in there. If there was someone trying to play a CD, you can even hear the inside the CD player. It was just horrible. Too much sound. And my sense of smell was back. I was light sensitive. There was all kind of things going on. So when I got back home through UFO Norway, they took me to a hypnotist guy in Oslo. So they put me under a hypnosis. So it came out that when I was in the cabin, I was waking up in the middle of the night, and there was this bright light being that was also like the gray ones, but this was a tall one. And it was this really lovely light shining around him. And I was getting up from bed and following him into the living room. And into the living room, it was like I was floating in the air, and I had three of those smaller gray ones around me, and then they were putting this kind of a helmet on my head. I understand why I got the marks, because they were having it was really tight on my head, because they had this kind of needles. This sounds like a bad horror movies from the 70s. It had these kind of needles that was sticking into my ears, and also this kind of fork things that was going up into my nose. So in that second, I knew what was happening when I was 10 years old. So during the hypnosis, it came through that when this happened to me in the cabin, I told the gray ones, please don't let me remember anything more. Because that was enough for me. So from that second, everything turned gray. So this hypnotist guy, he was working on me for 2 hours and he could not break through it.
And that's the way it is now.
Well, I can still hear very good, yes. Sometimes people can come to my place and they can ask, why don't you have the sound on the television on? I do have the sound on the television. So, yeah. But it's not that bad as
Which means you would have the sound so low that normal people wouldn't hear it.
A lot of times, yes.
Because it's interesting that because in my family, I think my brother would have the sound extremely low. And I said, what the hell would you? But then I did 303 shooting, so maybe too many headphones as a DJ. Now, what do you have there? Do you have a dog? Oh, pussycat.
This is my old guy. Yeah. 15 years old.
Wow.
So he wants the attention when it comes to the evening, and I'm not relaxing in the sofa, so he can have his normal spot. As you probably have heard, he is meowing here and then, and now he's coming.
She looks a little bit disturbed. Why? What are you doing here? Meow.
Yeah. No, he wants to have his habits, and that will be on staying on my lap or in the armpit in the sofa, especially at this time of hour.
Well, we're coming. It's just because of the recent interviews I've done and what they have described about going to other parts of the universe and being able to go out. This is a remarkable series of people saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you sort of talk to other people about this, other experiences in Norway, or is there a group, or you just get on with your normal life, doing your art and things?
Well, in my normal life, I'm not talking that much about it.
Yeah.
Because here in Norway, we do have a few UFO groups, but they are infiltrated big time now with people that are really aggressive. So if you are trying to, I was making my book because I wanted to get out there to help other people that have the same kind of experience. And I haven't been doing any commercials in those groups for a long time. I don't even actually don't bother. So
I mean, what you're saying is way. Changed. I mean, what you're talking about is way ahead of what I would call the bulk of ufology, but there are very strong. I call it ufology, unkindly, and because they stick to a certain, shall we say, agenda that some observers have suggested is a very toxic one to actually hold us down. And it's all out there. It's not in here. I mean, do you want to talk about that sort of thing or not?
No, the thing is that a lot of places, the safest thing is to talk about the dots flying around in the sky. If you are crazy enough or brave enough to talk about what actually you have experienced that are close up, then you have those that will think that is a good thing, and then you have those that will say that, oh, you're just crazy and you just do it because you want attention and so on. And my answer, my response to that is, you know what? If I seriously doing this for attention, Trust me, there will be plenty of other things I could do instead.
Well, that's what I would like, certainly, the conference in July. And for the purposes of this, it's March 2022. That's really what I would like to push the boundaries on this, and to deal with those other experiences and those things that you've just talked about.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure what kind of topic I will put together yet, but I think it also depends on what kind of pictures that I will be having done, because I need pictures to this kind of explanation.
Yeah.
Because those pictures will help me to explain what I'm trying.
Well, BASIS is not about UFOs. It's really about the transformation of humanity, and there are two basic forces: one to pull us down into a mechanized sort of a cyborg world, the AI that people talk about, but the other things is what you're talking about, is the higher frequency. I don't like using the term spirituality, but a higher frequency of perception, and joining our true destiny. And I don't even like saying in the stars, because that's too limiting.
Yeah, that's very limiting. When I was at the conference in Las Vegas 2 years ago, we had this panel, and we were all having the same questions. We were 6-7 people on the stage, and all of them were talking about, we're coming from the Pleiades and Arcturus and a very few places. It was like I felt a few eyes behind me when I was giving my response, because I never follow the group. So when they were giving me the mic and I was saying, where do you come from? Well, I come from everywhere. Because if my soul is timeless, why should I just be sticking here on Earth and the Pleiades when you are having more than 400 millions or billions, or what that number will be in English, in just our galaxy?
I mean, do people sort of label you as a Pleiadian because you're blonde and tall and all that? Or
yeah,
I mean, one of the other speakers, Andrea, talks a lot about the Pleiades.
Nordics.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about the Nordics, and then I like to joke about it, but that I am a Nordic. I'm 100% Nordic Scandinavian. So yeah, I am a Nordic, one way or another. So yeah, I've been joking about it, putting on this blue suit, as they are pictured with, and then perhaps color my hair even more white.
But this is important to push it past those very restrictive levels. And I think that's an excellent thing to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that the way we humans are looking at ourselves is very, very limited. I have experienced past lives. I have lots and lots of other kind of experiences too. So I really felt on my body the love that the universe really is made of. And I also know that, let's say, if you are working as a healer, I've also been working as a healer before many years ago, and I know that if you had a patient in front of you, a lot of healers, they are thinking love, and they are saying that, I'm opening up and I'm getting the love from the universe, the information from the universe, healing energy going through me and into the person. But it is actually not really deep, strong love or powerful love that is coming through.
Okay.
They're actually, they can think that they are sending it, but in real thing, there's not any real strong power of love that is coming. Because most people, if you have really felt a deep sensation about something, it's like you're feeling that your heart is like a cup that is just bursting. A lot of people have never experienced that, but for those that have experienced that, even that one is just the beginning of how much love you can actually send through and give out to the world or to the person in front of you and so on. So as a human, you are limiting, most people, they are limiting themselves so much because they're not even thinking about the possibilities.
Exactly. We're self-limiting. We are being conned. We've been led to do this to ourselves.
Absolutely. No, and very often I meet people that are talking about, oh, there's 10 of this and there are 5 of that and there are levels here and levels so. And I just say that for me, this is a very typical human thing to do, that we need to have a number on levels on so many things. Be level be level free, because it's endless.
By restricting it into levels, you're categorizing things in boxes and things, and that there is the opposite. You want to go with the flow.
Yeah, I think that most humans, they need to categorize things, because when they're categorizing them, they will feel more achievable. It's not the right word I'm looking for. Comprehensible, is that the word? I guess.
Yes. But for those who, I mean, I was speaking to some children. There was a conference several years ago, and this little the father was there having breakfast, and this little child wanted to ask me certain questions about where we came from, but she knew where we came from, but she wanted to know if I knew. So she was already way ahead. So what would you say to the children now who are experiencing these new things, but in the climate of school oppression on this, there's a lot of force to push them down? How do you see them getting through that?
It's a very difficult. It's not a difficult question. It's a really big topic, how to answer, where to start to attack the answer. That's the problem. I think that for the future, we all as a humans, we need to change radically. Now we have had, let me put it in another way. Let's say if you take one cell alone will never survive. It has to be more cell as a cluster to be something more. Then it will have the possibilities to survive in different environments. We are now as a living community of 50 billions of cells. So we are now on one identity. But we are not separate from the other identities. We are connected one in a very special way. And the thing is that if we are going to survive in the future, we will actually have to stop living and acting as we are separate. We need to understand that we are linked together. So we will change our world to in different ways than we are doing now, because now since we are thinking that we are our one identity, separate from everyone else, we are doing all kind of crazy stuff, and we are destroying the environments, and there are so many things that goes wrong because we are just thinking of ourselves as a one person instead of a group of people.
So do you feel that there's a way of communicating with others without using the internet and like a oneness of being, as opposed to tapping into these phones all the time?
Yeah. How to explain it so it will not come wrong out, so people will actually understand what I'm saying. Most people have heard about the law of attraction, and what you are thinking, if you think about that topic with a yes or a no, it doesn't matter if you want that thing or does not want that thing. The main thing is that you are focusing on it and you're putting all your energy into it.
Yes, that's very important.
That's why if you're going down to the quantum physics thing, then you will actually see it better, because this law of attraction thing, a lot of people will probably think that, oh, this is just bullshit and just crap and stupid things, just a fashionable thing. But you can actually explain those things in the quantum physics world. And the thing is that if you're focusing, let's say we're now taking the Ukraine war, and you're having all those people that are super super afraid of the war that will come to them, then they are putting a lot of energy and focus on the topic. And the more they're focusing on it, the more the chance will be that the war will come to them.
Exactly.
So a lot of sometimes when I'm on the radio show, a lot of the interviewers is asking me, what do you think about will happen to the humans in the future? My normal response to that is that, well, it's just to look at the collective minefield of what people all over is thinking.
Groupthink.
Yeah, group thinking.
And there's a great deal.
So let's say that let's say if you're dividing here in the north of Europe, now we don't have the Vikings anymore, but the people here in the Scandinavian, our mindset is not on war or that kind of problems at all. For us, war is a horrible thing, but it's normally something that is happening over there and it will never happen here kind of attitude. But if you go to the what was the place again where the Taliban took over?
Afghanistan,
yes. Those people, they have a completely different other mindset. Their mindset is about war, surviving, and has been going through this like this in generations. And if you are brought up with it, especially the first 7 years of your life, everything that is happening becomes like a program in your system, and that is, it's like a mobile phone. A mobile phone is blank, it's not working. But if you're putting in the certain different kind of programs into it, then you can use it. So then after 7 years old, you are programmed with a lot of stuff with what's going on in the world and what your parents told you. So if they told you are stupid, they're not looking at that as just a sentence. They're downloading that as a fact that I'm stupid. So the same thing, it goes with war and how everything is working around them. So in their lifestyle, their mindset is completely different than ours. So it's more likely that here, because of the group thinking, here it will be peace. But down there, the war will come and go and come and go continuously.
Which happens with people who protest against war. They walk with placards saying no war. But the no doesn't do anything. They're actually promoting war.
Yeah, that's the problem. So that's the problem because they are protesting on things that is already that is kind of old news when it comes to the quantum physics thing. The thing is that if you want to change the status quo, you can't fight the status quo with the same thoughts. It will be like this Einstein is saying, you can't change what's going on with the same thoughts that created it. And that's what most humans are doing. Because it's so difficult, because we are not trained at all to change. So you have to focus as best as you can on the positive aspect of what you want and not what you want to get rid of. It's like if you are depressed, you can't have a positive thought and a negative thought in your brain at the same time. So you have to really be working on yourself to really start focusing on the positive way. And the more people that can do that, things will change. Because that's a universal law.
So how do we do this with the kind of media that we have, which is really just unbearable?
It's difficult. It's really difficult.
I mean, how did people do this in the olden days? I mean, how did people have revolutions and things? They didn't have faxes, they didn't have telephones. How did populations do this before well, word of mouth, I suppose. But is it another way? Is it like the 100th monkey effect?
I'm not sure what you mean right now.
Well, the 100th monkey effect. One monkey found a different way of opening a nut, a coconut or something, and then another monkey saw it, and then 2 or 3 of them all saw it, and then the same technique was being used on other islands where those monkeys were, but there was no physical connection on how they would communicate. So it was something within the frequency and the energetic resonance of their DNA or their biofield or this collection of energies, which we call our bodies, worked on those other beings.
Yeah, it's actually a quite easy answer to that. The thing is that animals, plants, everything that is alive, we are on the same. When we die, our soul or that frequency that is us goes back. We draw from the matter, but we are still all around. So everything that we are thinking, a lot of people are thinking that, okay, what you're thinking, it stays in here. It doesn't. What you're thinking is like a broadcasting radio. So it's like you are, let's say that you are having a really good idea about a song. And then you don't write it. You write it, but you never do anything more about it, but you're thinking about it a lot, that you should do something about it. And then suddenly, you're turning on the radio one day in your car, and then you're playing your song with someone else. It's the same thing. So what you broadcast is out there, everyone can have access to. The same goes for the monkeys. But they are on their field.
We've been running for about an hour. Do you want to feel you've got something you want to say? I hear you've got a little baby there or something. Have you got it? It's okay?
No.
No?
No, there's no baby here.
Oh, I thought there was something crying.
No, it's just my cat. I have.
Oh, the cat?
Yeah, I have 7 fur babies. So no, I'm too old to have children. So no.
So where do you feel that in the last, what do you most want to get across before you come over to the wonderful place of the secret crop circles? Have you been to Wiltshire before?
No, I haven't.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, and hopefully everything will work, and we'll get you here, and it'll be fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, it was nice to have a chat.
Hopefully you'll be able to get your art over. I mean, is that going to be easy for you, or is it something that you can bring?
I'm not sure. I must really think about that.
It would be wonderful. I mean, if we had an infinite budget, we could fly it over in a container and have it all up. But let's do what's practical. But it'd be wonderful to see and experience your art in some way or other. Yeah.
No, I can take some of the. I can send you some of the pictures I have of my art that is hanging up in another place here and in an exhibition there. So then you can take a look about different types of what
I think the last time we talked, that was all locked up. Nobody was able to get into it. I take it it's all open now and people can see it.
Yeah, now they can see it.
Wonderful.
Okay, nice talking with you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And